The South Atlantic Ocean, a vast and tempestuous expanse, holds within its icy embrace a unique and globally significant ecosystem, a penguin paradise. While the image of these flightless birds waddling across frozen landscapes often conjures images of Antarctica, the islands scattered across the South Atlantic serve as critical breeding grounds, foraging habitats, and refuge for a remarkable diversity of penguin species. From the majestic king penguin to the diminutive rockhopper, these resilient creatures have adapted to the harsh conditions of the region, creating bustling colonies that represent some of the largest congregations of seabirds in the world. However, this fragile paradise is under increasing threat from a confluence of factors, demanding urgent attention and concerted conservation efforts to ensure its continued existence. The allure of the South Atlantic for penguins lies in its rich marine resources. The Antarctic Circumpolar Current, ASUN, which flows eastward around Antarctica, drives nutrient-rich waters upwards, fueling an explosion of phytoplankton. This, in turn, supports a complex food web teeming with krill, fish, and squid, the dietary staples for many penguin species. Islands like South Georgia, the Falkland Islands, and Tristan da Cunha, strategically positioned within this nutrient-rich belt, provide crucial nesting sites, free from mammalian predators and offering access to vast foraging grounds. The sheer abundance of food allows for the formation of colossal colonies, some housing hundreds of thousands of breeding pairs, a spectacle of organized chaos and tireless parental dedication. The diversity of penguin species found in the South Atlantic is a testament to the region's ecological significance. The king penguin, with its regal stature and vibrant plumage, dominates many South Atlantic islands. Its slow breeding cycle, involving an extended incubation period on their feet, requires stable, ice-free areas and a reliable food supply. Gentoo penguins, characterized by their distinctive white cap, are more adaptable and can be found in a wider range of habitats. Macaroni penguins, with their flamboyant golden crests, are known for their aggressive behavior and large colony sizes. Rockhopper penguins, the smallest of the crested penguins, bravely navigate rocky coastlines to reach their nesting grounds, their tenacious spirit a defining characteristic. Each species plays a vital role in the South Atlantic ecosystem, contributing to the overall biodiversity and ecological balance. The existence of these penguin populations is intrinsically linked to the health of the broader South Atlantic environment. Penguins act as important bioindicators, reflecting the overall state of the marine ecosystem. Their breeding success, Population size and foraging behavior provide valuable insights into the availability of food resources, the presence of pollutants, and the impact of climate change. Monitoring these indicators allows scientists to track changes in the ecosystem and implement appropriate conservation strategies. Moreover, penguin colonies themselves are hubs of biodiversity. Supporting a variety of other species, from scavenging seabirds like skuas and petrels to decomposers that thrive on penguin guano. However, the penguin paradise of the South Atlantic is facing a multitude of challenges, many of which are anthropogenic in origin. Climate change is perhaps the most pervasive and insidious threat. Rising ocean temperatures disrupt the distribution and abundance of krill, the cornerstone of the penguin diet. Changes in sea ice extent and duration impact foraging efficiency and breeding success. Increased frequency of extreme weather events, such as storms and heat waves, can decimate penguin colonies, particularly during vulnerable periods like chick rearing. Commercial fishing, particularly for krill and other prey species, poses a direct threat to penguin populations. Unregulated or poorly managed fisheries can deplete food resources, forcing penguins to travel further and expend more energy to find sustenance. This can lead to reduced breeding success, increased chick mortality, and ultimately, population declines. The impact of fishing is further exacerbated by the fact that many penguin species rely on the same prey species as the fishing industry, creating direct competition for resources. Pollution, both from land-based sources and from shipping activities, contaminates penguin habitats and poses a significant risk to their health. Oil spills, plastic debris, and chemical pollutants can harm penguins directly through ingestion or entanglement, or indirectly by disrupting their endocrine systems and immune functions. The presence of microplastics in the marine environment is particularly concerning, as these tiny particles can accumulate in the food chain and ultimately affect penguin health. invasive species introduced intentionally or unintentionally can also have devastating impacts on penguin populations. Introduced predators such as rats, cats, and foxes can prey on penguin eggs and chicks, while invasive plant species can alter nesting habitats. Competition with introduced species for resources can further exacerbate the challenges faced by penguins. Protecting the penguin paradise of the South Atlantic requires a multifaceted approach that addresses the various threats facing these iconic birds. International cooperation is essential for implementing effective conservation measures, particularly in managing fisheries and mitigating climate change. Marine protected areas, MPAs, can play a crucial role in safeguarding critical penguin habitats, ensuring that key foraging grounds and breeding colonies are protected from human activities. These MPAs should be strategically designed to encompass areas of high biodiversity and ecological importance, while also taking into account the needs of local communities. Sustainable fishing practices are paramount to ensuring the long-term viability of penguin populations. Implementing stricter regulations on krill fishing, promoting the use of selective fishing gear, and reducing bycatch can help to minimize the impact of fisheries on penguin prey species. Ecosystem-based management approaches, which take into account the interconnectedness of the entire marine ecosystem, are essential for ensuring that fishing activities are sustainable and do not compromise the health of the South Atlantic environment. Mitigating climate change is a global imperative that requires concerted efforts to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. Transitioning to renewable energy sources, improving energy efficiency, and promoting sustainable transportation are crucial steps towards reducing the impact of climate change on the South Atlantic ecosystem. Addressing climate change also requires adaptation measures, such as assisting penguin populations to adapt to changing environmental conditions and developing strategies to mitigate the impacts of extreme weather events. Effective monitoring and research are essential for tracking the status of penguin populations and understanding the threats they face. Long-term monitoring programs can provide valuable data on population trends, breeding success, foraging behavior, and health status. Research is needed to better understand the impacts of climate change, fishing, pollution, and invasive species on penguin populations, and to develop effective conservation strategies. Education and awareness are crucial for engaging the public in penguin conservation efforts. Raising awareness about the threats facing penguins and the importance of protecting their habitats can inspire individuals to take action to support conservation efforts. Promoting sustainable tourism practices and encouraging responsible behavior in penguin habitats can help to minimize human impacts on these sensitive ecosystems. The penguin paradise of the South Atlantic represents a unique and invaluable part of our planet's natural heritage. These resilient creatures have adapted to the harsh conditions of the region, creating bustling colonies that are a testament to the power of nature. However, this fragile paradise is under increasing threat from a confluence of factors, demanding urgent attention and concerted conservation efforts. By embracing a multifaceted approach that addresses climate change, promotes sustainable fishing practices, mitigates pollution, and controls invasive species, we can ensure that the penguin paradise of the South Atlantic continues to thrive for generations to come. The future of these iconic birds and the health of the entire South Atlantic ecosystem depends on our collective commitment to conservation. The Arctic, a realm of stark beauty and brutal realities, is home to the iconic polar bear, Ursus maritimus. Within this icy wilderness, the survival of the species hinges precariously on the success of its females. These magnificent creatures, embodying strength and resilience, face an increasingly challenging existence, particularly when burdened with the responsibility of raising cubs. Their journey, a constant negotiation with the melting ice and dwindling resources, is a poignant testament to the impact of climate change and a stark reminder of the precarious balance that governs life in the Arctic. This essay will explore the multifaceted challenges faced by a female polar bear with a cub walking along the edge of an ice floe, focusing on the critical importance of hunting success for their survival and the increasingly dire circumstances brought about by environmental degradation. The edge of an ice floe is a liminal space, a dynamic boundary between the frozen world above and the teeming ocean below. For a female polar bear with a cub, this edge represents both opportunity and peril. It is a hunting ground, a place where seals, their primary prey, are most likely to haul out onto the ice to rest or breed. The female, lean and driven by the overwhelming need to provide for herself and her offspring, navigates this treacherous terrain with practiced grace. Her senses are heightened, attuned to the subtle vibrations in the ice, the faint scent of seal on the wind, and the movement of her cub, a vulnerable shadow at her heels. The process of hunting is a complex and demanding endeavor, requiring patience, skill, and above all, the element of surprise. The female may employ various strategies, including the still hunt, where she waits motionless near a breathing hole, or the stalking approach, creeping slowly and deliberately towards a basking seal. Regardless of the method, success is far from guaranteed. Seals are wary and agile in the water, and even a minor misstep can alert them, sending them diving beneath the ice and forcing the female to begin the hunt anew. The stakes are particularly high when a cub is involved. The cub, completely dependent on its mother for sustenance, needs a constant supply of energy to grow and develop. The female must not only secure enough food for herself to maintain her own bodily functions, but also produce enough milk to nourish her offspring. This places an immense physiological burden on her, demanding she consume significantly more calories than a non-lactating female. Failure to secure a kill can have devastating consequences for the cub, leading to starvation, weakness, and increased susceptibility to disease and predation. The very landscape that defines the polar bear's existence, the ice itself, is undergoing a dramatic and accelerating transformation. The warming climate is causing the sea ice to melt earlier in the spring and freeze later in the fall, effectively shortening the hunting season for polar bears. This prolonged period of fasting puts immense stress on the females, depleting their fat reserves and weakening their immune systems. The diminished ice cover also forces them to swim longer distances between flows, expending precious energy and further reducing their hunting efficiency. The impact of sea ice loss extends beyond the immediate challenge of finding food. As the ice recedes, the distance between suitable hunting grounds increases, forcing females to undertake longer and more perilous journeys with their cubs. These long swims are particularly dangerous for young cubs who are not yet fully adapted to the cold and can easily succumb to hypothermia. Moreover, the extended periods away from the ice increase the risk of encountering predators, such as other polar bears or Arctic foxes, which may prey on vulnerable cubs. The shrinking ice cover also disrupts the delicate balance of the Arctic ecosystem, impacting the populations of seals, the primary food source for polar bears. The seals rely on the ice for breeding and resting, and the loss of suitable habitat is leading to a decline in their numbers. This, in turn, further reduces the availability of food for polar bears, exacerbating the challenges they already face. The plight of the female polar bear with a cub walking along the edge of an ice floe is a microcosm of the larger crisis facing the entire polar bear population. It highlights the interconnectedness of the Arctic ecosystem and the devastating consequences of climate change. The fate of these majestic creatures is inextricably linked to our collective ability to mitigate greenhouse gas emissions and protect the fragile environment they call home. Looking ahead, the survival of female polar bears and their cubs hinges on our ability to address the root causes of climate change. International cooperation, ambitious emissions reductions targets, and a commitment to sustainable practices are essential to safeguarding the Arctic ecosystem. Furthermore, ongoing research and monitoring efforts are crucial to understanding the evolving challenges faced by polar bears and developing effective conservation strategies. Beyond these macro-level solutions, localized efforts can also play a vital role in protecting polar bear populations. These include reducing human-wildlife conflict, minimizing disturbance to denning sites and implementing sustainable harvesting practices. Education and awareness campaigns can also help to foster a greater appreciation for the importance of polar bears and their role in the Arctic ecosystem. The image of a female polar bear with a cub walking along the edge of an ice floe is more than just a picturesque scene of Arctic wildlife. It is a powerful symbol of the resilience, vulnerability, and the profound challenges facing polar bears in a rapidly changing world. The success of her hunt is not merely about sustenance, it is about survival, about preserving a legacy for future generations of polar bears. The future of this iconic species, and indeed the Arctic ecosystem as a whole, rests on our ability to acknowledge the urgency of the situation and take meaningful action to protect their fragile home. The journey of the female polar bear and her cub, a constant negotiation with the melting ice, serves as a potent reminder of the interconnectedness of life on Earth and the imperative to safeguard our planet for future generations. The perilous journey continues, and the fate of the polar bear lies in our hands.